You've probably had this happen. You walk out of the interview feeling solid. You've given clear answers, good eye contact, and had no big stumbles. But then it's a no. Again. And the feedback? Well, we went with somebody who had stronger executive presence. Even though you've led teams, even though you've managed budgets, even though you've delivered under pressure. Well, in this video, I'll show you 3 subtle habits that make smart, capable professionals sound unsure in interviews, even when they're not. Because confidence isn't about being loud, it's about how you frame your answers, pace your voice, and own the room. And if no one's ever shown you how to do that properly, of course, it's costing you. We're going to look at what you're actually saying, how it's coming across, and how small shifts can change everything. So if you're tired of hearing great experience, but this is how you're going to start getting yeses. Not by faking confidence, but by sounding as capable as you actually are. The first subtle habit is over-explaining instead of leading. Let's start with something that catches a lot of experienced candidates off guard. They might ask how you handle conflict, and you launch into context, the project, the people, the timeline, and only eventually do you get to what you actually did. It's common instinct, I understand. You want to show that you're thoughtful, that you understand the background, but long answers blur your message. Over-explaining doesn't actually make you sound more credible, it makes your answers harder to follow and easier to tune out. It also shifts the energy. You stop sounding like somebody who's led and start sounding like somebody who's asking to be understood. So how do you avoid over-explaining without sounding vague or evasive? Well, stick to star, but get crisp. Set the scene in 30 seconds or less, then focus on this. Here's what I was asked to deliver. Here's how I made it happen. That framing shifts the focus from justifying your steps to owning your impact. For example, our Q2 delivery was off track due to a cross-team misalignment. I was asked to stabilize timelines without compromising scope. I clarified handover points, locked in a weekly sync, and negotiated phased sign-off so both teams could hit the client deadline. That's tight, clear, and leadership focused without skipping context. Because when you try to prove that you've done the work, you sometimes end up crowding out the insight that actually shows how you lead. The second subtle habit is apologetic pacing. Now, let's shift from what you say to how you say it. You might not notice it, but how you end your sentences could be quietly working against you. You say something like, "We launched a new reporting system and it was pretty successful, I guess." That is a pacing issue. You did something really valuable, but your delivery is not reflecting it. Trailing off makes you sound unsure. Rushing like you're trying to get through it only causes you to not own the outcome. These things absolutely show up in the room and affect how you are perceived, even in a 2-minute answer. The moment that usually lands is something clean, something like, "We launched the new reporting system in Q2, adoption hit 94% in 3 weeks." Then pause. Let the achievement land. Confident people don't rush their wins. They give them space to be heard. And that pause tells the room that you're comfortable holding attention. If you just trail off or speed up at the end of every answer, it sends a subtle message that you don't trust what you're saying. The third subtle habit is diminishing language. Now, let's take a look at the words that you use that might soften a point and how it can backfire. You might say something like, "I'm not sure if this is what you're after, but I led a process improvement that saved about 10 hours a week." Now, that's a really solid result, but the way that it was said makes it sound like you're unsure whether it matters. And we do this to sound collaborative or humble, but in interviews, using hedging language turns strong work into maybe work. And hiring managers notice this. They're not just listening for outcomes, they're watching how much conviction you carry. You don't need to oversell yourself, but just try not to undercut it. Try this instead. "I led a process improvement initiative that cut admin time by 10 hours a week. That gave the team time back for more strategic work." That's it. Specific, credible, it doesn't need a disclaimer, because every time you hedge a strong point, you make it easier to overlook. But even if you fix those habits by tightening your language, pacing your delivery, something deeper might still be holding you back. And that is, you might be communicating at the right level for execution, but not for senior leadership. Let's say the panel asks about a major accomplishment and you talk about hitting deadlines or keeping your team aligned. Now, that's valid, but it still sounds operational. Mid-level candidates talk about execution, whereas senior leaders talk about patterns, influence, and systemic outcomes. So even if you have leadership experience, you can come across as tactical if your answers are too focused on activity. Try this instead. We saw recurring bottlenecks across departments, so I led a cross-functional initiative that cut delays by 20%. That shifted how teams collaborated, not just how processes ran. That sentence signals strategic thinking. It shows that you're not just doing the work, but you're shaping how the work gets done. So how do you actually shift from being capable to credible? Well, start by being more deliberate. Be specific about what you were asked to deliver, not just what you did. Lead with outcomes, not activity. And when you say something, let it land. Don't rush past it. You don't need longer answers. You need answers that make your leadership obvious, even to somebody who might be half listening or distracted. This isn't about changing your personality. It's about removing the habits that make your strengths harder to see. Because when you strip out the habits that hold you back, your answers get sharper, your delivery lands, and you stop sounding like somebody hoping to get picked and start sounding like somebody who's ready to lead. And that's when decision makers stop doubting and start saying yes. Now that you know the habits that quietly undermine your confidence in interviews, what if you could structure every answer so it actually proved you're ready to lead? Well, watch this next interview where I'll walk you through the STAR technique and show you how to sound clear, strategic, and senior every time you speak.